Hey everybody, what's up? So I'd like to thank Ken from Moving for Kids for inspiring me to make this video, because this is something that's been on the back of my mind a lot, for quite a few months, and it's not been something I've wanted to touch for certain reasons. But after watching his video, I'll post a link to the video below, so you can listen to it. It's really his story to tell, and it's really something I think people need to hear for themselves, because on YouTube, and I'm going to talk about it at this point of view, there's a lot of more negatives than there are positives about people talking about their experiences with their mental health problems and that. And his is more highly on a positive side than anything else. Yes, he talks about the negatives as to why he went into a mental ward, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to use the other slang terms, but his video goes to show that there's two sides to people when they go into these things. He talks about the people who admit they need help, but there's also the side where you have people who don't go get help. And I think there are people that do see the things that they've done all their life as being normal. And it's kind of one of those odd things where you can't really describe certain things to people, because even if you do, they may not understand it unless they themselves have gone through it. With people, depression is kind of one of those things where we all have it. We all get anxiety at some point. It's normal, but there are people who it lasts longer for. And really, even things like germophobia. Howie Mandel wrote a book called Here's the Deal, Don't Touch Me. It's a great read. He talks about his experiences with certain things. And Ken's discussion made me think about it, and how there are people and I'm using him as an example, Howie Mandel came out about his germophobia on the Howard Stern show. And that, I think him doing that, even if it wasn't intentional, it helps people. It helps people realize they have problems. And I'm hoping when people watch Ken's video, maybe that'll inspire them to make more videos, because in all honesty, these are the type of conversations we need. We need people to be out there and out front and honest about things. I've heard more negative discussions about people talking about going to a mental hospital than I have positives. And I think the problem is, for some of those people, it's more from people who didn't want to go. They didn't want to be there, so their take on things was just so bad that they didn't feel like they were getting the help they needed or whatever else, so they turned it into that negative, which is going to cause people not to want to go. There are people saying, hey, you shouldn't talk about this. When, you have YouTubers that talk about it, there are people that think you're playing the sympathy card, you're trying to get it for attention, a number of things. But in this case, I can't see it that way, because having friends who have mental health issues, knowing people that have been in psych wards, having depression, anxiety myself, I want to see these stories. Obviously, myself, I talk about it a little bit, but I don't talk about the full scope of it, because I don't want to. There are things about it that I just don't care to discuss. That's just me. And there are going to be people like that, because you're going to have the people who are told you don't talk about certain things, or they feel like they're not going to be looked at the same. And just like people on YouTube, they're probably going to get treated like they're playing the sympathy card. They're faking whatever, and they more than likely aren't. But they don't, because they have that fear. And I really hope what he's doing opens a lot more doors. Myself personally, I won't talk about the issues because there's certain things tied into it that it's just like, it's a no for me, you know. I admit I was diagnosed with it, and I do take the medications, but there are things in my life that led up to a lot of this, you know, and it's basically, I'm going to say this, I think one of the reasons why men tend not to go, I'm going to use this for an example because I think it's something that needs discussed. I think men tend not to talk about it because you're raised to be, you know, you're supposed to be strong, you know, you're supposed to hold your feelings inside, different stuff like that. So it creates a problem. It creates a problem because when you are told not to do certain things, you're going to hold everything in. At some point, that stuff's going to explode. You know, you're going to experience other problems. Nobody knows what's going to happen, not even you, until it does. And there are a lot of people who, you know, if you look in the news, especially when it comes to things men do in terms of, look at a lot of the stuff that's been going on, at some point you're going to find somebody who's been diagnosed with a mental health issue, but they didn't take care of it. And it could be for the same reasons, you know, you never know. And that's really the problem with our society. So many people get looked down upon. I mean, how many, you know, veterans deal with this stuff? How many of them come back with stuff like PSTD and that? But they don't want to talk about it because they might be afraid of saying something, or they don't want to go get the help because they don't have the resources. It's like a lot of other people. They may not live in an area where these services are available. They may not have insurance for whatever reason that helps cover it, that, or the medications and that. It's really a problem. There are places that want to cut mental health services from state insurance and that. There are places in states where mental health hospitals are going to close down. I've heard stories of VAs having full rooms in their psychiatric units because they have so many people. It's scary. It really is. And this is what our society is faced with. It really is. It's disturbing, I know. But it's also part of our society. Yeah. So, yeah. It's one of those things that really needs discussed, and, you know, Ken, I thank you for doing it. The fact that you were willing to open up proved that, you know, I think you do want people to recognize problems, and thank you. I wish more people would do what you've done, talking about how this is, you know, how them going really affected their lives, and how overall it's time we opened up and really, as a society, just admitted stuff. It's hard, but it is what it is. That's it, everybody. Take care. Talk to you later. Bye.